Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday. Wonderful Sunday service happening today. We have a guest with us, Nayaswami Premdas from Ananda Village, a dear friend of many of us, especially here in the Ananda Monterey Bay Area. This week, we of course have our meditation or satsang on Wednesday nights at 6, and kirtan, as always, with our friends from Dallas at it would be 5 o'clock our time on Friday night. The happy hour kirtan. It's been joyful the past couple of weeks, and join in if you can. Next Sunday is a very special Sunday for us. We will be, hopefully, weather permitting, in Sean's backyard with Nayaswami Sahaja for an in-person Sunday service. And we get to see each other again, up close and personal. And
It's Kara.
hi,
Hi.
Kara.
Took me a minute
And
to
let's
find
see.
the link.
And I want you to all keep a special date, June 20th. Write it in your calendars right now. Don't schedule anything else. Sunday service, June 20th. We'll be joined with Nayaswami, Devi, and Jyotish. So we're bringing the big guns on June 20th. It just happens to be the
We have a
summer
big gun
solstice.
tonight. I mean, today it's just,
The really big guns.
yeah.
The
Well,
cannon. So on that note, let's begin our Sunday service.
Well, Jai Guru, everybody. Welcome to Ananda Monterey Bay's Sunday service. We're blessed today with Nayaswami Premdas's presence. So now I would just like to hand it over to him for an opening prayer. We'll have some beautiful chanting followed by a brief meditation. Jai Guru, everybody.
The voice of God calls us to awaken in him. How will he find us when he comes? And when he asks us to be ever more responsive, to be loving, to be great disciples, how will he find us?
Awake and ready!
Thank you. Wonderful. Let's start with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, great gurus, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, beloved Guruji, Paramhansa Yogananda, saints and sages of all religions, our friend and guide, Swami Kriyananda. We bow to you all. O Divine Mother, help us to feel thy joy through this guidance, through this lineage, through your ray of these divine gurus and friends. Help us to be in the moment, ever joyful, ever loving, ever compassionate, and to see your divine friendship everywhere, but especially in your children gathered here today. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Elaine, you are muted.
Morning, when I greet the sun, when I move forward through crowded ways, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will silently, I will always think of thee. When I laugh, oh, and when I cry with thee, when my best friends misunderstand, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. Dear God, my God, I am thine for eternity. Dear God, my God, I am thine eternally. Though my path lead me over desert sands, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. When I'm working and when in earned repose, let come victory or low defeat. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. Dear God, my God, I am thine for eternity. Dear God, my God, I am thine eternally. Every morning, when I greet the sun, when I move forth through crowded ways, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. When I laugh out and when I cry with pain, when my best friends misunderstand, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. Dear God, my God, I am thine for eternity. Dear God, my God, I am thine eternally. Pita Twameva, Twameva Bandhu, Shasaka Twameva, Twameva Vidya, Dravinam Twameva, Twameva Sarvam, Mama Deva Devam. Thou art my mother, my father, thou art my brother, my friend, thou art my wisdom, my wealth, thou art my all, light of lights, Tvameva Mata, Chapita Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhu, Jasaka Tvameva, Tvameva Vidya, Dravinam Tvameva, Tvameva Sarvam, Mama Deva Thou art my mother, my father, thou art my brother, my friend, thou art my wisdom, my wealth, thou art my all, light of lights, light of lights, light of lights, Tvameva Sarvam, Mama Deva Tvameva Sarvam, Mama Deva Thou art my all, light of lights.
With our mind at the point between the eyebrows, let's take this chant in the meditation for a little over 5 minutes. Continuing with our minds at the point between the eyebrows, and with our bodies and minds completely free of agitation. Listen to these words from Affirmations for Self-Healing by Swami Kriyananda. This week, the topic of income. Money should be seen as an energy flow, not as something that can be hoarded. For when money is treated as a material reality, it blocks one's creative flow. Money, like matter, is only frozen energy. Energy is what creates matter. It is energy that forever moves, changes, and dissolves matter. Matter, untouched by energy, is inert. If you need to increase your income, know that the energy you put out is more important than specific schemes for earning. Energy will attract opportunity. Recharge your energy from its cosmic source, and whatever income you need will be ever yours. Let's affirm together, first out loud with vigor, then in a normal speaking voice, then in a whisper, and then finally super consciously and silently. So first out loud with energy. The treasury of the infinite is mine. For its wealth is energy. And I am energy. The treasury of the infinite is mine. For its wealth is energy. And I am energy. This time at home, just in a whisper. The treasury of the infinite is mine. For its wealth is energy. And I am energy. Completely relaxed with our attention at the point between the eyebrows. Without moving the tongue or lips, just repeat it mentally with me. The treasury of the infinite is mine. For its wealth is energy. And I am energy. The treasury of the infinite is mine. For its wealth is energy. And I am energy. Please follow along with this prayer. O mighty fountain of infinite light, from whose spray the countless galaxies are made, let me wash away my worldly ambitions in thy waters. Let me bathe in radiant eddies of thy energy. Thou art my wealth, thou my treasure, thou my security. Om, peace. Amen. Our raised reading now.
This week's reading from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita, is on activity versus inner communion. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. Last week we contemplated the well-known story of Martha and Mary. Traditionally, this story has been offered to show the two classes approaching the salvation. The first through action and the second through prayer. The excuse of the Marthas of this world has always been, the church needs its Marthas too. Treatises, moreover, have been written to justify the Martha approach to piety, praising her self-sacrifice as perhaps an even higher demonstration of devotion. Thus do the unmeditative in religion try to justify themselves. Yet the fact remains that Jesus rebuked Martha. Elsewhere, moreover, he spoke of the virtue of feeding the hungry, curing the sick, and housing those who were homeless. It wasn't that he disapproved of serving people. Wrong attitude was the object of his criticism. What he was criticizing was forgetfulness of the true goal of right spiritual action. good deeds outwardly without inner communion with God will result in good karma, but will not bring final freedom from all karma. The path to inner freedom was described by Paramhansa in these words: be always actively calm and calmly active. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita, the 2nd chapter, they who are not shaken by anxiety during times of sorrow, nor elated during times of happiness, who are free from egoic desires and their attendant fear and anger, such a one is of steady discrimination. Do your duty in life, so counsels this great scripture elsewhere, but never lose sight of God, to whom all action should be dedicated. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to humankind. Om, Om, Om.
Good morning, everybody. Our world is in a little bit of stress right now. And so I thought it would be a good time to do Master's Peace and Harmony prayer. We really need it now. And on a slightly lighter note, I see our friend Alexandra sitting by her harp. And I'm hoping that after our service, after our closing prayer, she may grace us with a chant, if that's possible. Just wave your hand if you think you could do something for us at the end of service, Alexandra. Good, good. Thank you. It's Master's Peace and Harmony prayer. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony in this world. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony in this world. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony in this world. Lord, fill me with peace and harmony, peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill me with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill me. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony in this world. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony in this world. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony in this world. harmony. Lord, fill me with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill me. And on the ending of the chant, I'd like to introduce Nayaswami Premdas, dear friend of many of us, been around Scotts Valley and the Monterey Bay for many, many, many years. And so please welcome him. Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, everyone who's here gathered supporting Ananda's mission, Yogananda's directive to us to be filled with peace and harmony, to be channels of this light, to be channels for all of the 8 aspects that we refer to in Yogananda's path, the path of wisdom, love, light, joy, sound, power, energy, peace, calmness, calmness, calmness in spite of everything that comes our way. This is all consciousness, Satchidananda. So bear with me for a few moments while we leave the great I am that and we kind of plunge into a reflection on our times and places. I love Whispers from Eternity, and I'm always like at a loss. There's so much in there, but we've been focusing a lot on death and dying lately. I have been. We all have been aware of things. We're middle-aged group or older, and we see souls coming and going, some very close to us, some far, some acquaintances, some relatives of friends or other devotees, and some within our own household, or in fact, some of us having near-death experiences or looking at our own mortality. Well, I was looking for the right poem, poem kind of, interesting word, but I wanted something from Yogananda to start with from Whispers. And this is a writing he did. And I hadn't actually seen this before. I think he held it back from me until just now. So if you've heard this before, it might bear listening to it again. But otherwise, I'll have you find it later on. It's called Conquering Fear of Death, the Dying Youth's Divine Reply. So I'm going to read this. It takes a few moments, but I think it's important. At first, I was just going to read an excerpt, but I think in context, it's very important. In his laughter, he had often heard the echo of God's merriment. This laughing youth of many charms lay dying in a hut, yet the blast of illness was unable to wither his smiles. The doleful doctors came and said to him, but a day we give you to live." The dear ones of his family cried aloud, "Leave us not, poor youth of our hearts. Our souls are bursting for thee, for thy plight." The smiles of the youth grew brighter, and he joyously and pityingly spoke in a voice of song, appropriate for a group. "Ah, just a day, yea, but a day between me and my long-lost beloved. Yea, the hours of the day are slow to die. When they have expired, my beloved will open the prison gates of my life and embrace me in her infinite arms. The balloon of life will break, and the imprisoned breath of life will cross the mortal shore and reach my immaculate kingdom of dainty dreams, where no nightmares of illness will dare to cross the threshold of my peace. I am the bellow of the sea. In the sea I will be free. I am dust of light. I will swim in the stars. I am a drop of ambrosia. I will be a sea of nectar. I am the river of the moon. I will melt in iridescence. My nightmare of desires has ceased. My dreams of grief are broken. The light of laughter has awakened. The lamp of many lives, flickering over my earthliness, is extinguished forever. My light has plunged into the divine light and is playing over the splendors of eternity. The shadows of fanciful fears have slipped away, and the infinite light has spread over the dark nooks of my soul. I am making preparations with laughter and songs. I have clothed all my thoughts with new robes. I have asked my reverent feelings to sing a celestial chorus, and I have roused all the inhabitants living in the Villa of Inspiration to observe this gala day for me, the day of my entry into the infinite kingdom as a son of the King of Peace. I have asked the sentries of my will and determination to banish all sad inhabitants from my kingdom and kill the Satan of fear, pain, sorrow, and attachment at sight. My celebration of entering the bliss kingdom must be attended only with laughter and songs. No timidity or dark sorrow will be allowed to join my festivity. All the subjects of my mortal kingdom are roused today to continuous, unleashed, watchful merriment. They are all waiting to welcome the entry of the divine messenger, delightful death, when he will come to open the latch of finitude and let them out into the free kingdom of infinity. Now here's the gist coming up. All the inmates of my consciousness are rejoicing to leave this mortal prison, where they have been lashed with worries, thrown into the dungeons of uncertain, unsafe living, and constantly pounded by accidents, failure, disease, and unhappiness. My inmates are glad to dump the broken cage of brittle bones and throw the cage of flesh into the fire of infinity, letting the bird of paradise out to soar in the skies of blissful omnipresence. The inmates of my life are quiveringly, joyously waiting for the slow hours to pass by in order to welcome Savior Death to come of his own sweet accord and let them into his kingdom at his sovereign command. O dear ones, the youth continued, rejoice in my joy on the eve of my freedom from the mortal prison long before you. For me, no breaking of bones, accidents, no fear of failure or financial loss will ever exist. No thought of unpaid bills will ever keep sawing through my mind. No greed for possessions will ever be gnawing at my soul. No discourtesies, nor naggings, nor quarrels, nor pain, nor disease will ever dare make a noise when all the doors of my senses are closed. For I will be out roaming with my beloved on the tracks of cosmic freedom. Pray do not wish me to be back in your prison just to join you helplessly in your chorus of wails, but if it is needed, I will gladly come 1,000,000 times, wearing the robes of immortality to take you out of your mortal prison to my home of blessed freedom. I am free. I will be out, but it will be sad to look at you through your prison bars of mortal life, locked up in your misery-making mundane prison. 'Tis now less than a day, as the doctors say. I shall be gone on my infinite way. No music is sweeter than the song I shall sing every moment. Now, less than a day till my beloved comes in the dazzling chariot to take me away, to the kingdom of deathlessness, to the palace of bliss dreams, far, far away. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I think Master was trying to hit us a few times and open our hearts and help release the anxiety that comes with a mere discussion of death or the loss of loved ones, our own mortality, perhaps, or those of our dear ones. You know, the subject today, everything's related on our path. You know, the subject of income, where was that note I had right here that we discussed, is an affirmation for energy. And that energy requires that we be present. To be here now is actually one of the highest commands, even though it's not put that way, but to be in the Satchidananda, to recognize God's consciousness and not to identify with the past nor the future, but to be here now. In fact, in Yukteswar's Holy Science, he says everything is Satchidananda, everything is Om, the vibration, the essence, the pranabha. From that Om comes the understanding of time. From that vibration comes time, and that is one little step away from remembering who you are and thinking of who you've been or who you might be. Because as soon as you have time, you start delineating and you have separation. And when you have separation, then all of a sudden you have distance, and that is space. So from pranabha to the Om into time, then into space, it all came from that original consciousness. And we feel separated and alienated from it. And that's where the ego develops. And we feel like we're not part of this whole, but we're really, look at all the faces on your screen. This is just a small microcosm of our own reality. Each one of us is being the other. We just have to cope in this school that we have and identify as Kara or Supriya or as Premdas or in the role you play and the colors you're wearing or the ethnicity you are and so on. But if we can remember who we are and then understand we're in this play and have all these separations, we can then play our part best, and we can do it even in this Maya with joy, with calmness, with peace. And these 8 aspects, remember, are Satchidananda. That's what Yogananda said. These are ways of expressing it. I mean, it's not limited to 8, but that's kind of the categories to make it easy for us to understand. And one of the great aspects of Yogananda's work is that he took the most complicated philosophy, if you will, the most simple concept of Satchidananda, and then how it developed through various studies and playing operator, going around the world many times over many millenniums, developed into this formal study, and then people wanted to learn it because they're looking for happiness. But he developed it into saying, ever new joy, all that, all the Vedas, all the Upanishads, the Mahabharata, the Gita, spiritual classics from around the world. He basically condensed it all and said, yes, you are that, but how do you get there? And there's things that we could do to practice, of course, and we know that. But what does this have to do with the death and dying process and our being here? And, you know, this is where Yogananda said, we're here to find and to love God. So we take all of the traditions from all around the world and we find a common denominator in them, but it often gets ballooned out and expanded out where we forget that inner communion, where we forget because I've got a job to do and I'm a minister here at Ananda and I've got to talk to students around the world and I've got to play this part, which is egoic. But as Swami Kriyananda himself said, with the right attitude, you have no idea what amount of energy it takes to put on this thing called Swami Kriyananda. So that was an example for us that we have to play our part. We need the energy to express it, even on this realm of Maya. But if you can do it, remembering who you are, and I'm tying this also, coming back to death and dying in a minute, but we're also looking at a celebration at Ananda of our founder, of Swami Kriyananda, who basically said he'd like to be remembered only for being a great disciple, for being a truthful disciple of his guru. That's pretty pure and pretty clean, pretty direct. And again, not egoic, his title being a disciple of his guru, but because his guru is the key to Swami's life and mission. It was his dharma to not just be in tune with his guru, but to share that love with all. I mean, one of Swami's great closing lines that I usually have attached to any emails I send or when I'm doing classes, and it's interesting, Davy did Jyotish did a recollection of Swami this week, and he quoted this too. In fact, he took some of my talk even before I gave the talk. I had already planned on some things, and he used it all up. So it may sound like I'm borrowing from him, but it's just we're all in attunement with the one thing that's flowing right now. Swami said, we are part of a great tide of loving, joyful energy. That's Satchidananda, by the way, that wants to give and give as long as people are happy to receive it. It's very simple. Swami, for living in a community like we do and like some of you participate in, we have one rule basically to Nanda is people are more important than things. Again, simplicity, We have this concept from Yogananda, simple living and high thinking. It's very practical. It's very practical as we go about our daily activities. But can we still be inside? Can we still touch the guru's feet? The guru representing God coming to us, Divine Mother coming to us. So can we take the dust of Yogananda's feet? Can we take the dust of the guru's channels, their feet? Can we take each other's dust from each other's feet and see Divine Mother there? You know, without confusion, that's really what we want to do. We want to always be in that mode of namaste or namaskar, where the divine in us is seeing the divine in others. Okay, so we understand some of those principles, but then something happens. Okay, I'm going to read something that I wanted to share with you at this point to kind of bring this back. March 6th, 1952, a date that some of us may recognize, Yogananda told his disciples laughingly, "I have a big day tomorrow. Wish me luck." The next day, he attended a banquet at Los Angeles Biltmore Hotel for the new Indian ambassador. He didn't gaze about with his usual heartwarming smile. After eating modestly, in fact, you can see a picture of what he's eating. He's eating a fruit cup because he's vegetarian. If you see the bigger picture of the last smile. After eating modestly, the guru rose to make a speech about spiritual India. About what? He spoke more slowly in a more measured cadence than usual. He ended his talk with a quotation from one of his own poems. Where Ganges woods, Himalayan caves, and men dream God, I am hollowed. My body touched that sod. As he finished, of course we know this, Yogananda lifted his eyes, turned slightly to the right, and slid to the floor. The great guru's outward mission, his incarnation mission was finished. Officials who conducted the embalming, we know the story too, reported an unusual phenomenon. No physical disintegration was visible even 20 years after death. The body was apparently devoid of impurities. They reported this case as being unique in their experience. Okay, that was the physical guru. That was the physical entity. Yogananda said, "Death is only an experience through which you are meant to learn a great lesson." Can you fill in the blanks for me here? You cannot die. Death is only an experience through which you are meant to learn a great lesson. You cannot die. So we have this great fear and anxiety around the subject of departing this plane. The last couple of years, for whatever reason, I've been doing a lot of study and reading on different traditions and how they approach death and dying. Like most of what I read, because I'm biased as a disciple of this great guru, this avatar, I see his message in what I'm reading, and I see that he simplified it for me. And I think for all of us, you don't have to go and get the Tibetan Book of the Dead, though I recommend it. It's very good if you get the right translation. You don't have to get a book called Graceful Exits, though I recommend it highly. It's one of the great writings of spiritual masters from many traditions, mostly Eastern or Asian, and their experiences, but reminding us that there's much more than what we perceive here. You don't need to listen to podcasts and go to see other teachers to get this, but if you do, you'll hear similar accounts as to what Master taught us in the autobiography. When I say taught us, he sneakingly educated us through a very pleasant book of mystery and mysticism, but yet very practical. And we see that when we're alive to also prepare for every moment. But we prepare for every moment by living in Dharma. And when we live in Dharma, those are the yamas and niyamas, we can have a full life in the now, right now. You don't even have to believe in God, because I know from my other teachings and other studies that some traditions, high traditions, don't talk about God because they're trying to focus on the here and now and not to confuse people. But with or without the concept of God, your consciousness is going on and it's not going to be judged. Now, I happen to believe in a consciousness that has those aspects of Divine Mother. And I'm not talking about just the feminine as we approach it, but the qualities of love and the qualities of peace and the qualities of calmness and joy, as well as wisdom, as well as power. I don't believe, as Yogananda told a story, that for any mistakes I've made in my life or confusions, that I would be abandoned. I do not think that my Father, Mother, God, or the system would punish me nor have me go through pain and suffering for eternity. But I do think the system is set up in such a way that we can't necessarily find her here as we would like, so we find ourselves in pain and suffering. But when we leave, if we've done our homework, our own work, if you want to call it that, if you've gotten in touch with the Om, with the divine light, you have the vision of your spiritual teacher, the guru, and all these traditions have a guru. They may not call it that. It may be anathema to them to call it or reference another tradition in their terms. But if you focus on a master teacher, alive or out of body, but if there's a tradition that holds that, and Yogananda, though he's not in body, keeps pushing towards each one of us if we're willing to receive. I know other gurus can do that. They're said to do that, but he's ours. So let's focus on that. He has gone beyond whispers from eternity. He's kind of yelling through eternity. Are you awake and ready? He's saying, are you with me? Hey guys, other gurus have talked about going over the wall back and they tell you, hey, come on over. Well, Yogananda goes over the wall time and time again, but he keeps coming back and grabbing us and saying, hey, you got to see what I've seen over here. You got to be it. But it's not really a place. It's not really a time. It's right now. But he also says, as major Rinpoches, lamas, Zen Buddhists, great spiritual mystics say that consciousness never dies. It continues on. We all come here with a dharma. Sometimes it's very direct and it's very fast. Even Yogananda died before he was 60. But sometimes people leave us before they're teenagers. Sometimes people leave us in the exuberance of their early adulthood. Sometimes partners, you've been involved for just a short amount of time and they have major challenges and they don't continue to live in this body. But all these traditions say a couple things, and they say the consciousness lives on. The more advanced you are and prepared, you actually can take advantage of the death process if you need that. Whether you take advantage of it or not, you're conscious and you get some rest. But as soon as you're ready and this loving energy, which is benign and powerful, has you awake and ready to see itself anew, you come to and you're given ever new joy. It goes on, Yogananda said, you go on until you achieve endlessness. And almost all these traditions have recipes for going through the process of dying. Most of it is related to cultural significance and references. So it's a color or it's a place or an animal, and you see signs and wonders, and you are coached to pick certain ones. The Tibetans, for instance, will coach you. Tibetan Book of the Dying is really for people to study and prepare so you can set yourself up for the best result, right? You have a priest or minister. Well, that's just one example. My point here is, even in their tradition, they say, but if you can't remember any of this, remember the face of your meditation guru. Okay, Remember the face of Yogananda. Remember the face of Jesus. Remember your guru that brought you to this point of your consciousness. And more than this, that's for you. We are, as disciples of Yogananda, channels for this. So we can be there for each other, and not just each other here in the group that's evident on screen, but we can be here for those we love or we care about, that we know or that we don't know. You are that Zen monk sitting overlooking the Zen rock garden, and you're emanating peace, you're emanating joy. And that's not just for the world that we know it here. That's for every soul. That's compassion. That's wishing peace and harmony, just like we sang. So see yourself as having two missions, but really they're the same. With this guru, we are asked to both take care of our body, temple, and mind in this identity and offer it to God for our own evolution, our own progress, our own merging into consciousness. But at the same time, we are happy and we want to offer that loving and joyful energy that we are, to give it to people as long as they're willing to receive it, and they get blessed. For each one of us, Yogananda said, that reaches a certain level of consciousness, we bring in family members, and we don't even understand the karmic aspects of our family members. We think happenstance, or they're not in the same consciousness. We go back many, many, many lifetimes. All the great traditions talk about this. Yogananda made it very easy for us. He just said, okay, 6 generations of relatives. Okay, but that's just on your relatives. Now think about all the connections we have as spiritual brothers and sisters. And think of the power that we have when we come together in satsang, when we come together in sadhana, when we come together in seva. You can't beat this path. We are so blessed, and we are so loved and protected, as Asha gave the title to the wonderful book that she wrote, from many of our stories, many people who I know on the path who've contributed. We are loved and protected. And it's important when karmic actions take place, when life happens, and with life itself, physical life, the physical body has to go. When we lose people, when we lose ourself, the body, we have those challenges. It brings up stuff that is okay. It's okay when it comes up. But also we can prepare ourselves to know that in the middle of all that, we are loved and we can receive love. And in fact, it's a very natural process. That's why many paths, including our path, Swami reiterated, life is really just a big practice for the final exam. We don't need to dwell on the final exam, but we want to dwell in the moment. And if we dwell in the moment, everything will be taken care of. So I just want to tell you that this is a stretch for me too when I encounter this. That's why I dove deep into this years ago. But the longer I'm around and the more I trust my guru, the more I watch other people, the more I participate in helping people heal even through their departure. Heal even through the loss of loved ones. I come to recognize this as a true blessing. Jesus himself promised that death, that the sting of death would go away. It's natural, it happens, and sometimes we also aren't going to live the 80, 100 years that we might think we want to, but our karma is finished, our dharma is completed, and some high souls come in as youngsters or come in other forms, and they complete and they're on their way. That's why I love this Whispers from Eternity, because it's about the dying youth. But he's saying, hey, no sorrow for me. I'm not going to have any part of that. No citizen in my body and mind is going to interrupt this celebration. And I really don't want you guys to to take away from it either. You know, some traditions pray for their souls, for the souls of the departed, for 40 some days. Every day you do something for them. That's a great idea. At least 3 days, some traditions say, do it. I have a list of a wall of photographs, saints and sages, but also of dear friends who are been challenged, are passing. And I look at them and I just keep remembering them. I'm not holding them to what they've been, but I'm wishing them to go forward into the light. And that's what we want to do. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't get off on the 8th floor if the penthouse and the observation deck is open. Take the elevator all the way. Go as far as you can. When you get kicked off, you get kicked off. That's as good as it's going to get for now. But you just keep going higher and higher. And if your karma is clear, there's less holding you in the elevator. If your karma is clear, whatever you have earned and is supposed to happen, you'll go to where you need to be. And if you think you have any harmony and joy now, it only is going to get better if you hold to the Dharma, if you hold to the yamas and niyamas, if you hold to the Guru's feet. I promise. That's the promise of immortality that Swami talks about. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Om. Thank you so much, Nayaswami Premdas, Jai Guru. I think it's only natural when we receive this kind of encouragement, this kind of strength, and these kind of capital R reminders that we immediately identify as the whole world that we live on, see all the strangers, all the friends, all the family members as that, as us, a sense of togetherness pervading everything that's going on in this world. And so let's pray together and send these blessings to the whole world. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent. Thou art within all thy children. Thou art around all thy children. Thou art everywhere. Manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, minds, and souls. Rub our hands together and completely stand aside and let the holy Om and Master's energy flow through us to encircle the globe. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Amen. Paramhansa Yogananda Maharaja ki Jai! Jai Guru, everybody, and thank you so much, Premdas. Jai Guru.
You're welcome.